This is an SM Media production. Hi folks, and welcome to the debut episode of Scottish Football Daily News. This is your Monday Bulletin for Monday the 20th of November. I hope you're all well and having a good start to the week. This is going to be a daily show this week where we're going to look at all the big news that's taken place throughout Scottish football over the course of the day. It's been quite a busy Monday, I would say. There's been a lot happening. There's been a few kind of bits of transfer news, few managerial changes, but we will start with talking about last night. Scotland ended their Euro 2024 campaign with a 3-3 draw at home to Norway. Quite a thrilling game if you were a neutral. If you were a Scotland fan, though, I'd imagine you'd have been a bag of nerves for some of that. It was an interesting 90 minutes. It was very, very end to end in most cases. I thought for the most part Scotland were pretty good in terms of getting the ball forward. I thought there was a lot of positives to take. There was obviously a few big changes, obviously in defence and in the striker position that we'll get into in a minute. Steve Clarke said after the game that it was nice at the end. I didn't smile too much because I was still fuming about the third goal we conceded, but that's just the way I'm made up. It was one of those games. It probably is unfair to overanalyse that because the campaign was done. I mean, Scotland had qualified 2 games before. It was a chance to get some guys some minutes. The likes of a Jacob Brown came in. We saw the likes of Nathan Patterson getting a start. Stuart Armstrong came in, obviously scored the third goal. There's a lot of positives to take from that. Like, I thought in particular, like the 3 mainstays of the side, McTominay, McGinn and McGregor, I thought they were pretty much flawless all game. I thought McGregor was pretty good. McGinn obviously scored the penalty. McTominay just has been the star man of this qualifying campaign and deserves his credit in spades. You had a difficult situation in regards to the striking position. I think a lot of people, including myself, were of the feeling that Lawrence Shankland, after his performance in Georgia when he came on, scored the goal to secure the draw, deserved his start, but Steve Clarke went for Luton player Jacob Brown, who has been a bit of an interesting character in the kind of setup. I don't think a lot of people really see him as a choice in this team. I think you've got obviously Dykes and Adams, who seem to be the number 1 and 2, and they will kind of always be, when they're fit, they'll be in the squad. But Lawrence Shankland has been a favourite of a lot of fans, so people feel he deserves it, and his goal contributions as well. I mean, he was one of the top goal scorers in the league last season, and has been, even when he's been off form this season, he's still been very, very good for Hearts. He scored the goal on Wednesday night as well. So there was a few groans when Jacob Brown was called to start. I don't think Jacob Brown was great last night. I thought nothing was really coming off for him. I don't think he's the sort of player that fits that side, if that makes sense. I think he's more a get the ball into the penalty box striker, but he's played 11 games for Luton so far this season in the Premier League. I don't think he did a goal contribution. Not that a Luton striker is going to have a lot of chances, just obviously the position they're in the Premier League, but you would expect a bit more. But Shankland's goal contributions when he's been off form as such have been far better, and I thought bringing him on in the 89th minute was a bit strange. On the defensive side of it, the kind of main subject of concern has been the goalkeeping position. I don't think Zander Clark covered himself in glory again. I think the goalkeeping position is very tough for Scotland because I think you obviously have Angus Gunn, who has been great since he came into the setup. I think he is the number 1 choice, and I think he should be. But you do have, after him, obviously the 3 players that were in the squad. Robin McCrory. I think Robin McCrory is a really good goalkeeper, but I don't think he's getting enough game time at Rangers to say let's put him in as the second choice Scotland goalkeeper. Liam Kelly, I think, is a very efficient goalkeeper, but is he international level? I'm not sure, and I think that's the same as Zander Clark as well. I saw a few Hearts fans last night saying Craig Gordon will go straight in when he comes back from injury. I think that's understandable. I think I think Xander Clark's are very, again, similar to Liam Kelly, good for a certain level in the SPFL. I don't know if he's Hearts level. I think St Johnstone was probably the perfect level for him, but I don't think he's Scotland level. But I think you will see, in terms of when it comes to the squad selection for Germany in the summer, I think you will see Angus Gunn's a stick on. I think if he's fit, Craig Gordon will probably be second choice, and there'll be one of those three that make up the third choice position. But I think there is a bit of a drop between Angus Gunn and the other three in the squad that were there yesterday. Defence was a concern as well. I don't think Greg Taylor had a good game at all. I think that I think Greg Taylor is obviously he's the starting Celtic left back, and I've been clear in the past when it comes to Greg Taylor. Is he good enough to be that? I think he's serviceable. I think there's always I think with Greg Taylor is there will be somebody better than him. Celtic will be looking for somebody to come in and be a better option than Greg Taylor, and I thought last night he was poor. I think he is probably at best fourth choice in the Scotland team. You've obviously got Robertson and Tierney who are both injured. Aaron Hickey I think's obviously been kind of preferred at right back, but I think even Aaron Hickey would probably play there before Greg Taylor if everybody was fit. And obviously those three were injured last night, so Greg Taylor was in. I think even Josh Doyle just covered himself in glory better than Greg Taylor this season so far. So I think it's an interesting one, and the goals last night were poor, and Greg Taylor was at fault for at least two of them. So it is a difficult one. But on the plus side, I mean, I think we've got to say about the campaign, it was sensational. It's the best Scotland campaign I can remember. I'm 27, and I don't remember that it being as good and enjoyable as this. So full credit to Steve Clarke and his side. And from now to June, you're going to see a lot of Scotland players taking a claim for their spot in the side, and I think you've got to be looking at everybody. I think this is going to be a very interesting few months. It's very different. I thought the Lapuana last night was very good. I thought it was well deserved. I thought that was a thanks as well for the last Euros. I don't think obviously the fans got the chance to celebrate that, but it shows you the progression. I don't think there's been a better Scotland performance in terms of a group stage in my lifetime. So full credit to the guys for that, and it's going to be a very interesting few months between now and June as we look forward to Germany. Other news into the Premiership, it looks like Ross County are going to have a new manager, or a familiar manager as such. It looks like Ross County are going to be returning to bring in Derek Adams, the former manager of the club. This would be his third spell. It's coming out from today that Morecambe have announced that they have given Derek Adams permission to speak to another opportunity elsewhere, and he has left the club. It is looking like that Adams will be the new manager at Ross County and will take over for a third spell. Adams obviously is at an interesting time in his time at Dingwall. He obviously was manager there, left in November 2010, obviously led the Ross County side to the First Division title and then to the Scottish Cup final before leaving to join Colin Calderwood at Hibs. He then went back to Ross County 7 months after that and led them to promotion again. He left in 2014. Since then he has obviously had a few spells in England. Plymouth took them up as well, I think. Morecambe had a brilliant first spell at Morecambe as well, took them up to League One, which is no mean feat. Had a difficult spell at Bradford before returning to Morecambe after Stephen Robinson left them to go to St Mirren. And reading kind of Morecambe forums and Twitter pages and things like that, they really, really like him, and they're really gutted to see Derek Adams going. I think it is going to be an interesting one because it says to this thing of Ross County, are they just hoping that Derek Adams can go back and do what he did the first two times? It's going to be very interesting. I've kind of been reading up on what the overall opinions are. Roy McGregor is obviously someone who's very shrewd, and he will probably have still had a really good relationship with Derek Adams since leaving. And I think it will be a case of already. I think we're into kind of mid-November, and Ross County's plan will be just to stay up by any means necessary. They've went 8 games without a win. They've obviously sacked Malky Mackay. They stayed up last season by the skin of their teeth in a penalty shootout. They probably were very, very lucky to stay up. I think Partick Thistle will probably be gutted that they didn't win that game. But it is, I mean, Derek Adams is very much a manager who will have a lot of goodwill with Ross County fans because of the job he did the first two times. Led them to a Scottish Cup final, a famous victory over Celtic, if you remember, before losing to Dundee United in the final. He's led them up twice to the Premier League. I mean, that's no mean feat, and we've seen that. And they've been a very, very hard side to get right in recent years, Ross County, because they obviously have a thin budget in comparison to other teams in the league. But I mean, they've been there. I mean, they've been there for what, 3 years? I think this is their fourth season in the league. I mean, my thing with Ross County has been they've always struggled to score goals. They've brought in some good players in the past, like Regan Charles Cook. They've got a lot of good strikers in there. They've got Eamon Brophy. They've got Simon Murray. They've got obviously Jan Danda, who I think is one of the best players outside the Old Firm. I really believe that. I think he's a terrific talent. I think they'll be lucky to keep hold of him in January. But it is looking very much like a return to Dingwall for Derek Adams. We'll obviously keep everyone up to date on that and see where that leads. Next bit of news, it was emerging over the weekend that a few English Premier League clubs are keeping an eye on Motherwell talent Lennon Miller. This comes after the news that Lennon Miller has signed a new contract at Motherwell, keeping him there I think until 2026. But it's looking like a few English clubs are keeping an eye on him. Clubs like Tottenham and Newcastle are keeping an eye on the talent. He's in high demand. He's a really good player. He's probably been one of the star young players in the league this season. It's going to be one of those where, does he want to further his career at this time? It can work for you, it can't. We've seen it in the past with the likes of Billy Gilmore. You go down there, does it work? Obviously, it takes a long time to break into a big English side. Is he going to get better playing in a couple of years at Motherwell, being a starter? He's there. I think he started 9 out of 13 games this season in the league. They've had a difficult time, Motherwell, but he's been a real emerging player out of that. He just looks so talented as well. He's obviously comes from a really talented family, so he could just be that good. I mean, the other teams that I mentioned, Aston Villa, Brighton, West Ham, they've all sent scouts up. I know for a fact that there was a scout at the last game from England that was keeping an eye on him. It's interesting. I think Celtic and Rangers have obviously, they could just be outbid in terms of this. Like if these English clubs were really serious about trying to get him down south, I don't think Celtic and Rangers could compete with them. He penned a new 3.5 deal earlier this week. I think he is potentially one of the brightest talents in Scotland, and to do what he's doing at 17 it just speaks volumes to how good, how much faith Motherwell have on him. But Motherwell are a side who will give youth players a chance if they feel as if he's talented enough. He is going to get opportunities, and he's been getting opportunities. So, I mean, Stuart Kettlewell really likes him. They had open talks with him. I think they always felt that they would keep a hold of him and be able to tie him down for a few years. It's a big chance for Motherwell as well. If obviously one of these clubs are serious and want to bring Lennon Miller to the club, to their club, and take him down south, he will cost a bit of money. Whether it's a development fee, I don't know, but he's still 17. English clubs have a lot of money, that's safe to say, so Motherwell could ask for whatever they're able to ask for, they'll try and get. So I would expect Motherwell to do really well out of this deal, and tying him down's a massive bit of business for them. He is injured at the moment, Lennon Miller. Obviously, he's been injured, I think, from the defeat against Aberdeen. So they are hoping he's going to be fit from the start of the winter break. So, I mean, he's been such a big player for Motherwell this season as well. One of the bright spots of Motherwell's kind of disappointing start to the season, but I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that people have been keeping an eye on him for years, obviously because of who his dad is. His dad's very well known, very well respected, so I think we will see a bit of development on that in the next few weeks. Speaking of, we've obviously spoke about managers maybe coming back into the limelight, Derek Adams being one. One interesting bit of news that came out today, I don't know if you've seen the interview on Sky Sports News with kind of legendary English football manager Neil Warnock. He has said that he has received numerous offers to manage in Scotland over the past few years and would love a back to the wall type job should he ever make the move north of the border. There was an interesting interview where he did say, I think it was with the Hibs Observer, he said he's been disappointed that he's not been up in Scotland. He's not been given a job up in Scotland because he loves it there. He's got a place in Dunoon, and I love coming up. I've had a few offers down here these past few weeks, but I don't want to do anything until after Christmas, maybe February. I love a challenge, you know, those ones where someone says it's an impossible job. I love that, a backs to the wall type thing. It wouldn't surprise me if a Scottish club, particularly a Premiership club, if they are in a real tough position, like you kind of look at the likes of maybe if David Martindale was to kind of move on from Livingston, they turned to a guy like Neil Warnock and said, do your thing, try and keep us up. He is, I mean, he's made a career out of that. He's managed 16 clubs in England, and that is the job he thrives in. He says he's no plans to retire. He's got a very interesting live tour coming up next season that kicks off, I think the first date's in June, so I think that's a hint in itself that Neil Warnock is still looking to get a new job in football. I would be astonished if it's in Scotland. I think he's the perfect, like, for example, there's going to be a lot of English clubs between now and just after Christmas that will be in the mud, and they'll be looking for a guy like Neil Warnock to come in and keep them up, because I mean Huddersfield, I think Huddersfield's a bit of a mess of a club just now, so was he ever going to thrive there? Excuse me. I mean, he's been a manager since 1980. He's 16 different clubs he's managed. The Premier League, he's managed non-league. He would certainly be an interesting figure if he came to Scottish football. Maybe it could be an option, but I would be very surprised if it happens this time. I think it could be a difficult one for. I think obviously he wouldn't be cheap either. He's going to have a lot of options if he wants to get back into management. He says he's no plans to retire. Could Scottish clubs afford them? That is the thing. Like, I don't think he's going to manage like a Championship side. I think he's going to be, if he was ever to come up to Scotland, it would be a Premiership side really kind of struggling and needing a character like that to lift them out of a hole. And I think he would excite a lot of fans, but would he take the job? I'm not sure. So I would say that one could be one that again could just flag up whenever there's a managerial vacancy. I imagine his name will get mentioned, but I don't see anything coming of that. Next bit of news: Brechin City have a new manager after the departure of Andy Kirk, who joined Craig Levein at St Johnstone, and as former Elgin City manager Gavin Price. Gavin Price obviously played for Brechin City twice between 1994 and 1995, then had a short spell in 1999. Obviously most famous for his 6-year spell at Elgin, where he really worked wonders to keep them in the SPFL, obviously, and he was obviously dismissed just April 2023. They were really struggling, and obviously they parted company, but I think a lot of Elgin fans and a lot of people in that kind of area were quite upset that he lost his job. But I mean, I think it's a really good appointment for Brechin. I think it's somebody who knows the game, knows what he wants to do. He's got a lot of good contacts. Obviously, was close with Jim Weir. I don't know if that's something that could be revisited, if Jim Weir would maybe go back in with them. I don't know what Jim Weir's up to these days, but I mean, really good appointment for the Highland League. I think the team to beat in the Highland League have said that, although like Bucky for Martin, they've all had good starts. I think Brechin have got the best team in the Highland League, and I think Gavin Price is a really good appointment for them. Obviously, really good guy to have round about your club. Obviously, famously got an MBE during COVID for his services to Aberfeldy, which is quite obviously near kind of Perth and things like that. He's a really, really good guy in football, and I wish him all the best. Wish kind of Brechin all the best. I think it's a really good appointment. Closer to my area in Ayrshire, we had a managerial change yesterday, and it was a form of a friend of the show, Mark Roberts, who has moved on from Glenafton. Glenafton said that they'd parted company with Mark and his assistant Gary Harkins. Obviously, I know Mark well. I know the club well. It's a difficult one to assess because I'm friendly with Mark, and I've got a good relationship with guys at the club. I think it was a difficult job for Mark after Ryan Stevenson left. I think it was very likely that this was going to happen. I worried for Mark the situation the club's in. Obviously, sitting 15th in the league. it's going to be an interesting job, but you always, I mean, Glenafton will have no issue getting a manager in, but it's getting the right one, and they are in a position where they need somebody to really give them a spark. I've watched them a few times this season, and they haven't been good at all, and I think they need somebody in there who's going to just get a lift out of that. There's good players in that team. There's good experienced heads, like Mr. Michael Moffat's still there, Gary Fraser, Paul Payton. Do you mean there's top players that have been round the mill in Scottish football, and a few exciting talents in there as well, and a good level. That league is always going to be very, very tough, but Glenafton, I think this is the right time for a change. I think this is the time where they need a spark. They need somebody in who's going to really give them a lift, and I think it's going to be one to keep an eye on. It's really, really tough, and that league, the league they're in, obviously the West of Scotland Premier Division, it is so tough. I mean, there's the teams in it who are outstanding. Do you know what I mean? All 16 teams could beat each other. Realistically, I'm not saying that as an exaggeration. All 16 sides in that league are capable of beating each other on their day. So it's a league, but it's a league where you need to get a run going, and Glenafton haven't been able to do that yet. So fingers crossed. We'll obviously wish Mark and Gary all the best in their future. Should they both want to get back into football and coaching, I would imagine they're two good guys. They'll know that, do you know what I mean? They're well respected. They'll get another job, no bother, if they ever wanted to get back into the game. But it's a big chance for Glenafton now to get a bit of a lift and get a bit of a kind of move on from the Mark and Ryan experiment. It didn't work. It obviously hasn't worked because they've moved on. But it's a chance now to really move on from that and get somebody in and really get a lift as quickly as possible, because that is the only way they're going to stay up this season. A couple of other wee bits of news as well. Obviously, we're wishing our best to Spartans women player Becky Galbraith. She suffered a serious injury yesterday, so fingers crossed that she's okay. I've asked about, I haven't really heard anything to say that she's kind of getting there one way or the other. I think it was a bad injury from all reports. Just hope everything's okay with her, and wish everybody all the best. Just a wee bit as well. This will be a show that's going on over the course of the week, but there will be a lot of shows dropping over the next few days. I've got a lot of time, so we will have a few new shows dropping. There's going to be an East of Scotland show premiering hopefully this week, as well as a Highland League show. Should have a couple of new. The women's show should be back as well. We've got obviously the West show. The book club should be coming back as well. We've got an exciting guest lined up for that. So there's a lot of stuff coming out over the next few days. As well as the roundups, player of the week should be back. So everybody as well, it's obviously going to be a big few weeks for the channel. Hopefully this is the start. Hopefully everybody's enjoyed this daily news show, and I thank everybody for tuning in. And I'll be back tomorrow for your Tuesday bulletin. Cheers.